This is my favourite time of year. I'm Steve Purcell and this is M60 Media, and today we're going to create an image just like this one. And that's coming up after this intro. So November and December, I love it for photography. It's my favourite time of year to get the camera out. And what I like about it is our towns and cities are setting up for Christmas, so we've got all the Christmas lights that we can make good use of. And today we're going to drive our car through the city and take advantage of those Christmas lights. And what we're doing is we're going to get a sort of time warp effect of the light streaks on the outside of the car, while the inside of the car is relatively sharp. It's a really interesting image and it's really simple to do. All we need is a camera, a tripod, a car, a few household items and a little bit of a cleaning job. So without further ado, let's get that cleaning job out of the way. So a pro tip for cleaning your windows: white vinegar and scrunched up newspaper really gets rid of the streaks and smears. Good tip this. So once we've got the outside of the windows clean, we need to come on the inside and do the same thing. I generally just use the paper on the inside because it's generally quite clean. I just want to get rid of those smears. So that's the windows cleaned, and it's a really important job on this type of photograph because any imperfections, any bits of dirt on your windscreen or your windows where you're going to get the light trails through, it's going to show up in the final photograph. So really take some time to clean those windows. It'll save you a job in post-production of the photograph to get rid of any imperfections. So as you've noticed in this car, I also have a glass roof, and this will add to the overall effect of the photo because we'll get the light streaks coming through the roof of the car as well as in the windscreen and the side windows, which should make for quite a dramatic photograph. But if you don't have a glass roof or a sunroof, or for that matter a convertible, don't let that put you off. You'll still get a fantastic image through the windscreen and the side windows. The next thing now is to set the tripod up inside the car somehow, because obviously we need to keep the camera stable within the car. Okay, so that's the car all set up with the camera. It's dead easy, and I recommend you do that in the daylight hours because you don't want to fumble around with your camera in the dark. Let's talk a little bit about camera settings. I use aperture priority, and what we are going to do is set a low ISO of about 100. We don't really want to go any higher than that because we don't want to get loads of noise in the image. And we're going to use an aperture of anywhere between 5 and 11, depending on the length of time you want the shutter to be open. If you're using an aperture of 5, it will be open slightly less, and 11 will be longer. So anywhere between 5 seconds and 30 seconds, that kind of affair. I tend to do these images at around 15 or 20 seconds. So just work with your camera to get that sort of number of a 20-second exposure. Somewhere around f7 with an ISO of 100 should be fine. Now we're going to need to talk a little bit about health and safety. If someone's available to drive the car while you operate the camera, that's good, we don't need to worry about it. But if you're going to take this image on your own, we need to trigger the camera and drive the car. And I'm not sure that's quite legal. So what I recommend is something like one of these remote triggers. You can pick these up off Amazon, relatively cheap, they're only between 10 and 20 pounds. Get one for your camera, simple, job done. It just plugs in and you set it, away you go. But what I prefer to use is my phone, and especially an app called Cascable. Now what I love about this app is that if I want to set the trigger of the camera to go off in an hour's time, the app will do that for me. I just set what's called a recipe. Now you don't get the recipes in the free version of the app, but the app is relatively cheap, and I highly recommend you invest in this app because it opens up a whole world of opportunities for your camera. You just set a recipe, leave the camera to do its thing. So with that being said, we just need to wait for a little bit of darkness to come in and we'll set off in the car. I'm around 20 minutes away from the city centre, so I'm going to set the Cascable app to trigger the camera in about 30 minutes as I'm driving through the city. All good, all safe, we're not breaking any laws, and we're not risking our lives or anybody else's lives on the street. So let's wait for the darkness. I'll show you how to set the recipe in the app. So I'm going to use the Cascable app, and although it's not a free app, there is a free version, but the free version doesn't include the recipes we're going to need for this photograph. So there's a couple of options. You can purchase the app outright, and I think it's around £30 to do that. Or you can have the app and use it for a month or a 3-month period. And I believe it's £2.50 per month, or you can have the 3 months for £5.50. So there's a few options to get the app if you don't want to spend the £30. What we're going to do is we're going to create a recipe. So we need to click on the create and edit recipes, and we need to add a recipe. So we're going to browse and click on create document. We're going to name it. I'm going to name this long exposure. And create. Now what we need to do is add things to the recipe. So the first thing I'm going to do, because I'm going to drive to the area I'm going to take the photograph, and I know it's around 15 minutes to get there, so I'm going to set my wait fixed duration till I'm actually at the area. Now the default is 5 seconds, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it and I'm going to change this to around 30 minutes. So this will give me plenty of time to get to the area, and the camera will trigger itself after 30 minutes, and I don't need to worry about that. So we add that to the recipe. The next thing we need to do is add what the camera needs to do after 30 minutes. So I'm going to click on take shot, add that. Then again, I'm going to add another duration of waiting, just a short duration now of say 10 seconds. So I'll add the 10 seconds. And then I'm going to add another shot. So take another shot. And what we can also do here is we can change the exposure of the camera. So I'm going to add another instance of wait a fixed duration, just 5 seconds this time. Then I'm going to change the variable, change exposure settings, sorry. And what I'm going to do is increase by 1 stop. You can do this to 1 stop, 2 stops, however many. You can just set that as your desired level. So I'm going to leave this at one stop exposure, then add, take shot again. Then what we can do is again increase the exposure. So I'm going to add again, wait a fixed duration of 5 seconds, add a change exposure setting. I'm going to click on the Smart EV and change that to 2 stops. And then once again, add take a shot. So this is going to take 4 separate photographs at various exposure settings. And ideally, we'll get one that we like, and we don't have to mess around with the camera while we're driving the car.
Tell me how closer to you. Tell me how I'll do it, babe. 'Cause I just wanna make you feel what I do about you. So just tell me how I'll do it, babe. I love it when you whisper in my ear, words only meant for me to hear. Promise that your secret's safe with me. You're the only reason, yes, you're the only reason. Baby, you're
think we can all agree you can get some amazing results with that simple long exposure technique. Just setting the camera up inside the back of your car and driving through the night light really does make for an amazing image. And if you create anything using this technique, I really would like to see them. So if you post it to Instagram and use the hashtag M60Media, I'll go and check them out. If you found this video useful or enjoyed it, please smash that like button with a thumbs up. I really would appreciate it. And leave a comment down below. I read and respond to every single comment on the channel. And if you don't already, why don't you consider subscribing to this channel? Here we're all about photography, cinematography, views, news, tips, reviews, tutorials, all that kind of good stuff. And if you like that kind of thing, please consider subscribing. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video, which will be very, very soon.